Joe, you might want to mute your computer audio. I hear that popping in the background.
Yep.
All right, everybody, we've got a little less than 120 seconds to go. So, as always, we will start promptly at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I'm expecting, if this goes the way of the last demo like this, we are about to get an onslaught of people showing up. Joe, what did we top out attendance on the last meeting?
150.
Well,
I think we had 43 attendees.
okay. I was going to say, given the fact that we have a 100 limit, it'd have been a little difficult to go to 153.
That sounded good.
Okay. 40 is pretty good. That's a good number.
Got a 50% attentive rate so far. That's good.
Okay. People paying attention?
Started. Yeah, you got 50% paying attention. Oh, drop down to 40.
Let me, for everybody that's on the line, while I lead up to our 2 o'clock start here, this product that we're using, this GoToWebinar, it's got a pretty funny feature in it where if you place any windows on top of the GoToWebinar window, so like the screen that I'm presenting on, if you put something on top of it, it declares that you're inattentive. And so I guess all that means is it can somehow recognize that there's something on top of what I'm presenting. And so you're inattentive. Joe, now we can watch and see how many inattentive people. There they go. Look at it. Everybody's just became attentive now.
Wow.
That's pretty funny. All right. Well, I've got 2 o'clock on the nose, so if we have no reason not to start, Joe, I think we are ready to get rolling today. Are you in good shape?
I'll do my best.
All
I
right.
didn't read the manual and tasks, so I'll do my best with questions.
You did not. I was going to say that is true. I understand that. So, all right. Well, guys, the purpose of our webinar here today is to cover the new task feature that is out and available now in the product. And you may not have even noticed it. It came like a thief in the night at about 3 a.m. today. The update was rolled out that applied task into the safe system. And so today we're going to spend. It probably won't go as much as the last session did. We went every bit of an hour, but in the last session we covered a very heavy topic, which is searching in the system. And there is all sorts of rabbit holes you can run down with covering searching. I don't think tasking is quite that. There's as much depth to tasking, but we'll find out as we get going here today. So hopefully everybody can see my screen right now. I am logging into the Safe product. And let's get started on task. So what you may or may not have noticed today, for every user in the system, there is now a new button over here on the left for task. All right. Now, what's a little bit different about my screen is you're going to see a number 4 next to it. And we're going to explain that number 4 here in a moment and every other area of tasking. But let's just start out with what is the purpose of tasking to begin with. Many of you are probably already familiar with it because it was in our legacy product. I just think what you're going to see here today is a superior version of tasking that is now available in this version of the system. But that aside, tasking is the ability to communicate with other users in the system. And not just communicating with other users in the system, but doing so in such a way that all of that communication is recorded for historical purposes. Okay. So we have a scenario. One of the things that I'm going to send out to everybody is I did create a user manual for tasking. So everything we're going to cover today is in this user manual, and we'll send this to everybody so that you have it at the end of this. But what I have at the top of the user manual, there's a very quick scenario where you might use tasking. And I hope it's applicable, but let me read through this real quick. User A, and we'll say that I am user A, and for the purposes of this, Joe on the line is going to be user B. So Ben needs information from Joe, okay? So instead of calling Joe on the phone or sending him an email or sending up a smoke signal, however it is you communicate with other people, instead of doing all of those things, I'm going to initiate a task in the software. All right. So to do that, we simply go to task over here on the left. All right. So once I click on task, it's going to open up tasking and it's going to show me any task that I am the creator of the task or I'm the recipient of the task. So we can see, looking down at this screen right now, there are 11 tasks on my screen here, which again means I am either the creator, which in this scenario, every one of them I'm the creator on, or maybe I'm the recipient on it. Now, just so you know, that number 4 that's over there on the left, those are the open tasks that I'm the recipient. We don't show tasks that you've created. So that's why even though you see 11 on this screen, 4 of them, they're assigned to me. Now, in this scenario, that sort of means I assign them to myself, and in playing around with it, I did that some of the time. So let's go in, and I'm going to create a new task. Let's just go with the nuts and bolts. We're going to create a new task. So we simply go up here and say, I want to add a new task. And just like an email, you're going to have a title and an actual message that goes out. So in this scenario, I'm going to say the title of this is Case Review Test 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And the body of the message is going to be, hey, Joe, can you please give me a status on this case? Okay. So that's the message that's going to go out. Now, in the next 2 boxes, this is where I'm going to either assign the task to Joe. So I'm going to hit the drop-down menu, and I'm just going to start typing the name of the user I want it to go to, and there's the guy I'm looking for. Now, in this system now, you can actually assign it to multiple people. In fact, you can assign it to a lot of people. So I'm going to go in here and say, I want this task assigned to all 3 of those people. Now, in addition to assigning it to a user, we also have groups of users. And in a little bit, I'm going to get into showing you how to create a group of users. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign this task not only to Joe, Rob, and then this email, I'm going to assign it to any user that is in that group. Now I'm going to run with that right now. We're going to come back to linked objects in a little bit, but let's just save this at this point. So that action right there of creating that, here is the newest task up here at the top. Your list of tasks are always sort of descending. The newest stuff, the most recent action is always going to be on top. So the ones that are at the bottom are the ones that are the furthest away of having any comments on it. So I can see at this point, I've assigned this out to Joe, or I've assigned it to all these people over here. And let me just hop into my Yahoo email real quick, because one of the recipients of it was my Yahoo email. So the fact that I have initiated that out, I'm going to go in here now. Here's my Yahoo email. Okay, as that thinks about opening. It is Yahoo, so we got to... All right, so there. So it tells me now at 2:05 today, this task was created by me. It's just simply a notification to let me know, hey, that task was indeed created. I can click on that link. It takes me back into the software with that task open. Now, the thing is, not only did I get an email, but so did Joe, so did Rob, and so did any user that is in that safe group. All right? Now, just a couple of quick basics up here at the top. You can toggle between open and closed cases or tasks. So here's all of my closed. I've got 10 closed tasks. I'm going to go back to open. And what I'm going to do now, Joe, if you could entertain me for just a moment, are you logged into the safe software, or can you please log into the safe software?
I'm in.
Excellent. So what I'd like you to do is go to your task screen, and even though nobody can see Joe on his screen right now, I'd like you to go into that task, which what Joe is about to do is go into the details of the task. The way you view any of the intricacies of that task is to click on details. And now I'm going to go in and I'm viewing all the information about the task. Here's the subject, the created date up at the top, the message, the last action date, and then down at the bottom is a notes area. So Joe, I'd like you to go in and post a note in there. Just put something in like, hey, I'm working on the task, I'll get back to you. Whatever you can type in the quickest way possible, Joe, I'd like you to submit that. And now that I've given you more than enough time to submit that, I'm going to now go back to the details of that task, and I should see there is the notification from Joe down there. And so he said, hey, this is a note from Joe. I'm working on this. Thanks. Let me know when you get it. Okay, and I know I'm typing fast and misspelling, so let's go with that. So I'm going to go ahead and add that note back to him. And just that action back and forth, as a matter of fact, when Joe posted that note, all the other users in that task would have gotten that email with that note. And now that I've posted that, that would have gone back to every user in there also. So there's the beauty of tasking, is that all of this communication is stored inside of this right here. All right. So as that goes back and forth, that's great. So actually, if I go back to my task dashboard, I should see that the most current activity is actually 208 because it was my note that I posted. Okay. So for those of you that are using the existing product, the one major enhancement is the fact that now you can apply a task to more than one user or more than one group of users. So let's take a quick sidebar and let's go in and let me show you how to create these groups. So one of the new options under settings, and by the way, if you haven't gone into settings recently, you'll notice some of these things got renamed and they're a little more palatable names, if you will. So one of the new options in here is user groups. So I'm going to go in into user groups, and here are the user groups that I have. I'm going to go in and build a new user group, and I'm going to call this sessions user to group. Okay, and I'm just going to save that. And so now that I've got that group created, I'm going to go back to user admin. I just want to show you how to apply people to that group. So let's just say I want this person, this person, this person, and this person all in that group. I go to actions, add to group. I'm going to call it sessions. There's the group. All of those people are now in that group. So if I go, so now we go back, let's go back into the user groups. Now you can see inside that group, there are all the people. So I can now go back and do a new task and say, I want to assign this task to that group. And all 4 people in that group will become recipients of that. So in a police world, for the police people on the phone, you may have a group called property administrators. And so if your people were to go in and say, hey, I need an item to pick up to court, you may tell them, instead of assigning that to me individually, assign it to the group of people so that anybody can get that. Now, they can still assign it to you individually, but there is the option of doing the group. All right. Joe, do we have any questions popping up? How are we looking on questions, or is everybody just sort of mesmerized at this point?
No, good question is, can you turn off the email notification on that?
I actually don't have the ability at this point, but that's a good thing to write down, Joe. I agree. We should have the ability to turn off the email notification. One option that you do have inside of settings organization, down at the very bottom, there is an option in there to turn on more details. What you'll notice by default is when the email goes out, it has very little information about what's going on. It doesn't say what's happening. It doesn't give any details about it. But if you go in and enable more details, when those emails go back, as a matter of fact, if I bring up my Gmail here real quick, because I'm the created by on that one. So let's go into my Gmail. We should see some tasks coming back. In fact, there they are. And it says in here like a new note has been added. So it begins to tell me a little bit more about what's going on with that task. And you can turn that off and on, but I don't have the ability to turn emails entirely on or off. But that is a good thing, and we need to write that down, Joe. Okay. Anything else?
I think for the time being, that's a good one.
Okay. I'll keep moving on, and we'll certainly come back if more questions come up. So let's do this. I showed you how to go in and create a new task from scratch. But what I really want to do is I want to go back and show you a much better way to begin to start a task. So I'm going to go back to recent cases in my system, and I'm going to bring up this case right here. And this case, oh, that's a bad one. Let me see if I can get something with a few more items. Ah, perfect, right here. This case has 5 items in it. So what I want to do is I want to select all 5 items from in here, and I'm going to go to the actions menu, and I'm going to go to the bottom, and this is brand new. I want to add these 5 items to a task. All right. So we go in, and I can say, do I want to add these items to an existing task, or do I want to add it to a new task? I'm going to do a new task. So I'm going to select new and hit create. And now it pops up, and so we've got case review. What is up with all these items? Okay. And I want this to go to Joe again. But now you'll notice down here under linked objects, instead of me having to go in and find all of these linked objects, it automatically applies every one of them to it. Okay, so we're going to call this here. I'm going to rename this title, Safe Sessions Task. What time? 14:13 is the time. Now I'm doing that specific name for a specific reason. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And at this point now, that task has been generated. If I go into the details of it, you're going to see all 5 of those items. But let me expand on this a little bit. Let's go back to something you should remember from last week, and let's go in and search. Let's do a search. I'm going to go in and search for all cases that are newer than 30 days. By the way, for everybody on the line, I was a little bit disappointed. I did not get an email from one person with a screenshot of a really cool widget and search menu that they created. Nobody sent that to me. So I'm hoping that you just didn't send it out, but you still were doing a lot of searching. Okay, so I'm in and doing a case-based search. By the way, Joe, did I successfully shame everybody well enough there?
We'll find out what they put in your review.
I was going to say, I'm glad that the question window is not open for everybody because we can filter the responses. All right. So back to what I was suggesting here a moment ago. I'm in the case search, and here is a list of every case that's been entered in the last 30 days. There's 21 of them. I'm going to go in and select all 5 of these cases up at the top. I'm going to go to Actions, and now I've got a new option under there to add to a task. And I'm going to add these to an existing task and say, yes, I want to go to the selected task. Watch what this does. So in the old system, when you created a task, there was no way to modify any of that information at a later date and time. Maybe something else came up and you wanted to add more stuff into it. Now you can see I can go in and link multiple objects inside of here. So this case now not only has these 5 items in it, it's got these 5 cases in it. And by the way, when you're inside of here, I can click on that, and that's going to open up that case. I'm now looking at that marked case. Now, not only can you link cases and items to it, but watch this. We're going to go in, and I'm going to do a search for first name contains Ben. So now we're doing a person search. Here are all of my Ben people. I'm going to add that to a task. I want it to go into an existing one right there. Boom. And now that case has 5 cases, 5 items, and 3 people attached to it. And by the way, look at all the logging down here at the bottom. Every time this is modified. So let's say, for example, oh crap, I didn't mean for that case to go in there. I'm going to edit this task, and I'm going to go in, and I'm going to remove that case and that case. And now I'm going to save it. And so now it's going to go through the process of saving the case. And now when I go down here, look at this log. These 2 cases were detached from the task. So there's far more flexibility now in entering more information at a later date and time, or even detracting from the information, and all of that is logged inside of here. So now that you've seen me add those objects that way, let's go back now and let me add a new task from the very beginning. And this is why I didn't want to do it this way first. Down here at the bottom, you have linked objects. So I can go in and link things one at a time. I'm sorry here. I want to link this case. There's one. Save it. I also want to link this case or this item or this person. I can go in and do this. And now these are going to come up with Ben. Oh, yeah, I want to link that person. You can certainly sit there and do that one at a time. But it's much better to bring up the case or search for the case, begin to add it from whatever grid you're on. When I say grid, let's go back and do that again one more time. From this screen right here, I select my items or select my persons and say, I want to generate a task from there. Okay? So we're still dealing with creating a case. There's just multiple ways to go about doing that. Okay? Questions, Joe?
When attaching an item, can you choose what's displayed on that grid right there?
Right now there is no customization of that. It is displaying the description. So if I go back to that, it actually puts the org number and the description in there, and even the category of the item. I don't have it to where it is customizable. So I haven't gotten that far with it.
Okay. All right, then.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Is that good?
Good.
All right. Okay, so one other thing while I'm inside of here, another option that you have is closing a task. Now, I guess one thing that I failed to mention, the only people that can respond to a task or can close it or edit it are the creator of the task or whoever's assigned to it. Okay? Now, that's why the email becomes so important. Somebody could go in and close a task, and that email is your notification that they did do that. All right. But again, only the people that are the creator or assigned to the task can go in and close it. So I'm going to take this task and say I want to close it. And it just pops up and says, yes, are you sure you want to do that? All right. So now I've got that. Now that case is going to be in my closed queue at this point. Now, if you wanted, let me just show you how to do this. So there are 11 cases in my closed area. You could select every one of them. Actually, I don't want to select every one of them. Let's just select a couple of them. And I'm going to go to Actions, and I'm going to go Open Task. I want to reopen that task for whatever reason. And so now I'm down to 8 closed tasks. I go back, and all those tasks are going to be in here now. And just the opposite of that, you can go in and select all these and say, I want to close all these tasks. Yep. And people will get email notifications. Right now, Rob and Joe and my Yahoo is getting blown up by all of these emails because, in fact, you can go back here and look. Here's all the emails that are going out all over. Okay. So there is closing and opening a task. Another really cool thing up here at the top is your task stream. So if I go into the task stream now, you can see a list of everything that's gone on with every task. And so right now, I mean, this is, and granted, that is a fairly long list, but you can see as I've been sitting here doing the demo, you know, this was attached to a task. These were closed. These were open. You know, all the actions that are going on are taking place in here. As a matter of fact, it looks like, yeah, there we go. I was going to say it wasn't sorting by the date, even though I thought it was. So now look, you've got a list of all of this stuff in here. Okay, so the task stream is nice. All right, let me look at my list. There are more things I want to cover, but I'm sort of attempting to do this in an order. Oh, here's another thing. Let me go back to that recent test right there. Inside of the case now, and so you should be familiar with the case view, there's now a new task tab. So this shows every task that is associated with this case, open or closed. So because you can go in here and say, hey, I'm looking at open cases. Here, I'm looking at closed cases. So there's only one. And then from here, within this screen, you can click details, and now you're right into viewing the details of that task. Okay, so that's a nice way to view those. Let me see. I've showed editing and closing a task. Oh, here's another one. So what if you don't want to use task, or there's some people you don't want using task at all? Inside your settings area under permission groups now. So this was called, I don't even remember what it was called before, but it's now called permission groups. So when I go into permission groups, security, whatever that was, yes, it's now called permission groups. So inside permission groups now, let's just say that for whatever reason, I don't want my read-only users to be able to do tasking at all. So I can go into permissions now, and there's a new task permission at the bottom for view and create. So now I can say, hey, I don't want my people that are read-only to create or view, or maybe they can view, but they can't create. And that's fine. I've just turned it off now. So when they log in, they'll have the ability to click this button over on the left, but that add task button will be closed out. They won't be able to click on it.
Ready for questions?
I'm ready. Hit me with one.
I got 6 of them, all asking the same thing.
Woo! Hit me with it.
Can you set permissions so that only certain people can close a task?
Yeah, I knew that was coming like a freight train. Yeah, right now, I will say, right now, it is designed in such a way that the creator or any of the recipients can close it. But one of the things I do think would be, I don't even know how I would elaborate on that, Joe. I don't know how I would handle that in the permission groups, because everything in permission groups is based on, you know, a checkbox. And so I don't know how I would get into who can close a task. So I agree that that needs to be addressed. I just don't know how I'm going to address it at this point. So I'll go as far as to tell everybody we'll address it some way. I don't know how I can address that.
Uh,
Okay. Well, so that was all 6 questions at once.
that was a majority of them. And then how do you visually see if a task is associated with a case or an item?
Well, so the way you would do that is, so let's go back to our task screen. And from here, from this screen, you would not know if it's associated with a task or an item. So you would, from this screen, you would have to go into details to see all of the linked objects up here. It's really, there's no way I could put all the linked objects on this screen. It would look really weird. But where you could tell is what I was showing a moment ago is when I go back here, when I'm in this screen right here for task, I know that somehow this task is associated with this case. If I go down to the item level and look at this item, and now I go to the task tab, I know that this task at the bottom was associated with this item that I'm viewing. Okay. Now, one thing I did not show is over here on the left. This is something that's available now in Safe that was not in the legacy product, and that is the ability to search across all tasks in the system. So going back to last week and all the searching we did, tasking is just another level of doing that. So I'm going to go into search and I'm going to do task. And now we go in here, and this is something everybody should be mostly familiar with. So I can go in and say, I want to search every task that was created by Ben Townsend. And so I can go in and do this. Or I can go down and say, you know what? I know there's a task that's assigned to Joe Miller, and I want down here task to Joe Miller. Now, I haven't tested that, but hopefully there are all the tasks that are assigned to Joe Miller at this point. Okay, and it even tells you over here on the right, is it open or closed? All right. And so I'm not going to sit here and go through all of these, but you can tell I can go through here and once you understand searching, and remember from searching, you can build these searches and now you can have them come back to your dashboard as widgets. So maybe you have a widget called tasking and you've got, 10 different types of data in that widget window to help you understand the type of tasking that you're working with. Keeping in mind, for most people, the most general thing you need to know about task is that number right next to it. How many open tasks are assigned to me at this moment? And right now, the answer is 5. So that's the cue for your people that are using this when they're receiving tasks. They're going to want to, how many tasks do I have to deal with? The bigger that number gets, the more behind you're getting. I'd like to see that number down at nothing or 1 or 2 or 3. I don't want to see it at 30, 40, or 50. Okay? Now, another scenario, what happens if you've got that guy or girl and all of a sudden, like, they're not responding to your task? I want to reassign this to the supervisor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, here's this task assigned to Joe Miller. I have waited now almost 8 minutes for him to respond, and I cannot stand it anymore. So I'm going to go into the details of this task. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to change the assigned to. I'm going to get rid of Joe, or maybe I just put the boss on there. Hey, Rob. And so now we go ahead and now Rob is going to get an email saying this task has been assigned to him. And what I would do is go down to the notes at the bottom of this screen and put a note in there that we're waiting on Joe to respond and he is not getting back at an adequate time. So we just simply go down here. Hey, Rob, I've been waiting almost 8 minutes now for Joe to respond, and he is not. And there you go. So now Rob can go in and he's going to put a nice note in there. Hey, Joe, I'm on the way down to your office. If you could just go ahead and get this done before I show up, and, something to that effect. Okay, so we've been going almost 30 minutes at this point. That is tasking within our product. I want to say this is version 1, but we have been working on this for months. I think we spent more time developing this than many of the other things in the product. So it's closer to being version 3 or 4 because I've been going back and forth for months with developers on getting it the way we want to get it. There's certainly more to be done. We came up with 3 or 4 things. But one thing I do believe everybody can agree with, because most people on the phone here today are using our legacy product, this is better than the old product. You can do more with this product. Even though there's a few things that people brought up, I think that this is a better system than the old one. All right, Joe, what do we got? Anything?
I said we're good now.
We're good for now.
Good for now.
Okay, well, guys, as we come down the home stretch, if you've got any questions, now would be a good time to throw them in the box.
Ben, let me ask you a question real quick. Did you cover the searching on tasks?
You know what? I did cover this searching, but you're right. I did not cover. Let's go back to tasking. Up here at the top, there's a quick search window. So one of the things you can do in here is go in and type keywords. You can either type in the task number or the subject, and it will come back and narrow that down a little bit. So okay. I don't think it'll do. Yeah, the only reason that came back was because Ben is actually in the subject line.
Okay. Everybody wants an update on Auto Dispo.
Hey, this is that's awesome. I want you guys to know I love each and every one of you because you guys are just like my salespeople around here. I get one thing out, I pour my heart into this demo. I give a great presentation for 30 minutes, and we're not even done. Where's the next thing at? You know what? I totally understand that. So as I've been telling everybody, the tasking was the first step to Auto Dispo. I could not do Auto Dispo without that. So I can tell you this. The Auto Dispo has already begun development. The developers are designing it right now. But the one thing I'm going to tell you, because we're going to have a safe session, not the next one, but the one after that is most likely going to be on workflow in our product. And workflow is Auto Dispo on steroids. So I think one of the things hopefully I've relayed to everybody as they've been watching these demos, I keep using the phrase significantly better. To me, if all I'm doing is designing the same thing the old one did, it's just something else. I want significantly better. And so we want Auto Dispo. Everybody wants that. But I actually want to build workflow into our product. And so that is coming up. One of the upcoming sessions will be on workflow. And when you see that, you're going to say, I love Auto Dispo, but I really love workflow. So I think I didn't answer that. Joe, I probably everybody is like, well, that really wasn't an answer. And I do understand that wasn't a specific answer other than because tasking is done now, Auto Dispo has begun.
Question, can you sort by any of these columns by clicking on the header?
Yes, you can. So if I want to go in and search by the created date on this, you can do that. So now I've got descending. There it is, ascending. I can, yes.
Let's see here.
But by default, just so you know, by default, it does sort by the last action because I like to see things in, all right, here's the oldest stuff. Or maybe you flip it the other way and say, all right, this is the stuff I really need to work on right now because this person has had this now for almost 3 weeks and there's still no action on it. Stupid Ben David Townsend.
Got an easy question is where can they watch these webinars?
So actually, yes. So we're going to send out an email. The searching one has already been produced and it's now up online. Joe, throw that down on my list of to-dos and let's make sure we email everybody with the link to watching that video. So we've recorded this one and, within the next 3 weeks, this one will be published and updated also.
Can workflow and Spillman be integrated into Safe?
Boy, that's a custom can of worms we want to get into. So if you want to discuss that, that is Boy, that would be a big can of worms. I would say you want to put that can of worms back up on the shelf.
Can you go back and create a new task to the new task screen and pause for a second?
So go like here.
Yes. See what David's got to say. While we're waiting on David, Dana has a question. Can you confirm that you can assort on the task screen by the assigned to?
Well, no, that's not going to sort that way because you got people in groups and things like that. So there's no way to do that. The way you want to do that is to go back and do a search and go into your task area, type the name of a user in, and then all of the tasks assigned to that person will come up.
Okay.
That's a good one, but you'll notice I cannot sort by that column because there's no way to sort based on 8 things. How would you sort that?
Correct. So we're adding a task. How do you add a task? Let's see here. Where do you add the task to an existing item? Is that what you're asking? That would be linked objects, I believe.
That is either under, yeah, so we covered that. That's either going into linked objects and saying, here, I want to pick an item, which I don't like doing it this way. This is not the way to do it. But you can go in and link to an item in here one at a time. Like there's an item right there. Boom, I just linked an item. The much, much better way to do that is to go back, bring up the case, go to the items tab, select whichever items you want in the task, and go down and say action, add to task. And now I've done it this way. And that was way easier than linking them one at a time, even though you can link them one at a time.
Can you add an item or an object, I guess, a case to an existing task?
Absolutely. So, and we covered that one, but let's go back through it again. So let's go into here. I'm going to pick, so right now I'm going to click the details on this task right here. And so I can tell right now that this task is linked to those 3 cases. So I can edit it. And then I can go through and do the linked objects like, you know what? I don't have a plus. Where's my plus button on there? That is very, Joe, that's a bug. I need to get my plus button on there so that I can add it. But even without that right there, I can go back. So right now in this, there's the task. I'm going to go back to this case and I'm going to say, here, I want to, actually we got to do a search for that. To get the case up, I got to do a case search. Let's search all my cases. Sorry, let's pick a case that's got a few less items in it here. All right, so now we take this. So if this is the case that I want attached to it, I just go to Actions. Where is it? Something's not right there, Joe. I do not have my...
Your Actions menu is not working.
I just did that a few minutes ago.
I cut off your access.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. That is... Okay. I got, you know what? The answer to that is, yes, you should be able to do that. I got to get, that obviously is something we missed, that we need that plus button on the edit screen. And we need the actions menu right here to contain that. So I got to fix that. Dang it. I went 36 minutes, Joe, and did not run into a big problem. And at the 36-minute mark, I got nailed.
Hey, the tough questions where it comes. That's good.
Yep.
That's great. That's what we need. Again, when's Auto Dispo? I think my personal opinion on Auto Dispo is it is worth the wait.
It's coming. It is being worked on. And I'm not just, by the way, I'm not just saying it's being worked on to suffice for the moment and then we're going to come back. The guys are literally developing it. That is what their project is.
The exciting thing about that is the workflow that's built into it, from a forensic standpoint, from all of our industries, it encompasses everything. Workflow is pretty powerful.
Let me give you guys, let me give an example for each of the types of industries we deal with where workflow matters, okay? So what if every time an item was entered that was currency, I wanted to email the finance department? Okay, so I could go in and create a user group like what we have now because we have user groups, which is one of the things we needed. I can go in and create a user group called finance department. I can put all my finance people in there, and then workflow is going in and saying, when this action occurs, I want this to happen. Okay, so that is, but see, I gave you one example. You could probably come up with 100 examples. And that's the way that is being built so that you can go in and say, when this action occurs, I want this to respond. And so that is ultimately what Auto Dispo is. You know, when this case comes up for review, email this person. When this new case is entered, apply this date to the follow-up date. So Auto Dispo is literally multiple steps in a workflow process. So in the old product, we built specifically Auto Dispo. In this product, we're going to build workflow so that you could have Auto Dispo and far more than what you had in the old product. So when Joe says it's worth the wait, when that comes, I'm really hoping very soon. I don't want to give you a date because I know that dates they come and go, and it is coming soon. We're not talking many months down the road. It is coming soon, and when you see workflow, it's going to be everything that the old system was not.
What about a task can people edit?
Pretty much anything except the logging or the notes. So when I go back to the details on a task, if I click edit, and by the way, you can go in and play with tasking in your site. Creating a task it's not like creating evidence where you want to get rid of it later. You just close the task when you're done. But when you edit the task, I can edit the title, the message, who it's assigned to, the group it's assigned to, or any of the linked objects.
Okay.
So play with that. Okay, so let's do this. I'm sure that we could go on questions for a while. I think at the risk of somebody else asking when Auto Dispo is coming, because I'm only guessing that is still being requested. Let me cover what our next topic is going to be in 3 weeks, and then I think we're good to wrap up today if there's nothing else of major importance, Joe. So the next session that we're going to do in 3 weeks is going to be on media within our software. But far more specifically, we're going to talk about our new on-premise file server system that has now been released. It is being used by one of our clients right now. And the whole concept behind it is that you can use our product to store digital media, but you can actually keep the digital media inside your facility so that it never leaves. So we're going to cover media at the next session in 3 weeks, but we're going to highlight the on-premise file server system. All right, Joe, last questions. Do not. You're my filter, Joe. Do not ask any more questions about Auto Dispo.
Well, if there's nothing on Auto Dispo, I think we're done.
If you can't talk about that, we're just fine. We're just going to quit.
Questions here, but if they can't ask Auto Dispo,
hang out, guys. Right, it's coming. We'll have a safe session. I hope you guys are after doing 2 of these now. This to me is a much, much better way to train on our product, doing it every 3 weeks. And that way you get a nugget of information you can go back and play with. I will say one of the ideas I have in my mind is we're going to do a safe session. We're going to open up the floor and we're going to let people ask questions. You can ask questions of each other. You can throw them out and we'll get people to respond. We may get panel members in here. We're going to have sort of an open mic day at one of these times. So that's coming also. All right, Joe, we good?
I think we're good.
All right. Everybody, thank you so much for your time. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Well, everybody says thank you and they appreciate it.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. And there's no poll at the end of this one. I think we got everything we needed on the last one, and we can tell, hey, there was a lot of people in here today. So that's good for everybody. Thank you for coming, and we'll send you out an email about the next session coming up 3 weeks from today. Thank you.